Hi, good morning. I feel like the session is on and I can see several people's name in our attendees list, but I don't know, like maybe this is my computer setting that I cannot see anyone. But want to test whether at least you are able to see not necessarily me, but the slide, and also your microphone is working in case if you have a question. So let me see. Kala, can you hear me? Patty, Jennifer, and I can see Abby, but I'm not sure. Maybe let me see. Meredith, do you know whether the microphone is muted? I thought that they can control.
Yep, for the attendees, you should be able to unmute your microphones if you'd like to speak.
Okay. Seems Patty, you are.
Patty. I can see you. I can.
And we can hear you. Great. Jennifer, do you want to test your mic? I feel like you're.
Now, yes.
There you are.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Nice. How about you, Abby? Yep, it's green now.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know, it seems a little bit confusing. However, hopefully we got adjusted well. How about you, Kala and Tim? Can you test your microphone?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Great. Hi, Kala. Maybe up, it turns green. And orange again. Yes, now we can hear you. All right. I'm glad that that all is working. Jennifer, I know we're about starting the info session, but I see some question mark from you. Jennifer, do you have any question? Or it's from the microphone test?
I think it must be from the microphone test.
Okay,
Okay,
that sounds good. Nice. Hi, Corey. We are testing our visual and audio and microphone kind of thing. I just want to make sure that you can hear us, see the slide, and then whether your microphone is working. Can you unmute yourself? Yep.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I can hear you guys.
Yes. Yes, we can. Maybe we can be all like some group commercial, like can you hear me, can you hear me, that kind of like old I don't even remember, it was T-Mobile or something. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I guess people are still probably coming, knowing that this in order to get in this session we need some quick registration part, so hopefully in a couple of minutes others can join us. But we can probably start some introduction and then maybe start to share some information about this due diligence process. So again, welcome everyone. Good morning. We are so appreciate your time this morning. Stay with us. And before we start our conversation, just wanna upfront share our apology first. We initially planned to send all of those contract and selection letter, those documents, when we sent out the email right after the board meeting Thursday. but unfortunately, that didn't happen with some the final confirming step that legal need more time. So hopefully, sometime very soon, we can send those all package. So you have some opportunity to learn about or confirming your expectation with this grant. And always feel free to contact me and us if you have some questions. So please accept our apology that all information is not at your hand at this time. But we did not anticipate, significant change. So hopefully that is helpful. Okay, so regional planning grant due diligence training. Okay, Meredith. Sorry, do you wanna go little like logistics, or I can do that? But I believe like we all checked out some how to turn your microphone, unmute yourself if you have a question. So if you have a question, just feel free to stop me or stop us, and then you can ask those questions. Although we have some question and answer in the end, or you can also use some raise your hand or question mark that both Meredith and I are monitoring our that table box, so we can make sure that we have address your question. Okay, the next slide. So here is another function that explain the GoToWebinar toolbar. And for today's agenda is we did some introduction just now, and then we will go over the overview and purpose of the grant, although you are really well aware of that. And then quickly we will dive into the due diligence, the information session that you need to prepare in next couple of weeks. And then we will a little bit talk about the submission and deadlines, even though it's slightly flexible, but we want to make sure that this contract got executed as soon as possible. So hopefully there is no gap between your current grant and the new grant. So your that hardworking hours are all covered smoothly and well. So that's our hope at this time. And then we will make sure that we have some time to answer your questions in the end. But if you have a question in the any time while we are going over some topics, please stop us and ask those questions. Okay, next. So, I mean, this grant has been many years with our, partnership with the Greater Minnesota Consumer Cares First. And then 2 years ago, we extended this grant to also Minnesota Travel Nations. So this is a kind of like, not whole a lot of money, but we are hoping that this can be useful funding source for all COCs and the travel nations to use for their regional planning that can address some homeless response system and also advance equity. So the total $350,000 one-time funding, which means that it wasn't the renewal dollar, although we had some similar kind of total amount available funding for many years. And this money is supposed to be covered from July 1st or whatever the day that you sign the contract through June 30th next year. So here is the due diligence, the part that Meredith will go over more details.
Good morning, everyone. This is Meredith Mayrand. I have had the chance to interact with most of you on previous grant terms. And we'll be just going through the list of due diligence items required to execute this grant contract agreement. We'll touch on each of these items. The agreement itself, the board resolution, proof of insurance, a revised work plan and budget, a designation letter, acknowledgement form, and then if your banking information is changed, the information required to make that change. So an EFT authorization forms with vendor number and W-9. As G mentioned, we hope to have the grant contract agreement to you as soon as possible once it's available. And we ask that you review the entire grant contract agreement to ensure accuracy and understand compliance. If you have questions as you go through any of the details, please feel free to reach out to us. The agreement sent to you is a draft only. There's no need for you to route it internally for signature. Once all of the due diligence items have been submitted and approved, we will initiate signing of the contract via DocuSign. So we ask that you also submit the names, email addresses, and routing order, if applicable, of your authorized signers when you're submitting your board resolution and other due diligence items. A few important dates to note on the grant contract agreement will be the effective date, the grant period, and the expiration date. So the effective date of the contract is July 1st, 2023, or the date when the contract is fully executed, whichever is later. It's the date when all parties have executed the grant contract agreement, including both your signers and ours. And it's the date when you can begin incurring costs under the terms of the grant contract agreement. So any expenses incurred prior to the execution of the contract by both parties will not be allowed. The grant period of the contract is the date from the date when it's executed through June 30th, 2024. And it's the time period in which the grant proceeds must be incurred and expended. So no funds can be used prior to or after the grant period. And then you'll note that the expiration date is September 30th, 2024, which allows some additional time to submit all final reports, documents, and requirements. Any final payments will be made to your organization, or any unexpended funds returned to Minnesota Housing. The next item required is the board resolution. So we do ask that you submit a board resolution from the grantee organization's board of directors. It must be a signed and dated original board resolution specific to this grant contract and should include the awarded amount. It should also include the names of the individuals authorized to sign the grant contract agreement. Next up is proof of insurance. We do require that you submit a certificate of liability reflecting crime coverage, employee dishonesty coverage, and at least 1/8 the amount of the total grant award. I will just note that employee theft coverage is not accepted. If you have any questions regarding the type of coverage you have, please feel free to reach out at any time. On the certificate that you submit, Minnesota Housing should be listed as a certificate holder, and the policy must be current with an expiration after the start date of the grant term. And then, as I mentioned previously, if you are a new grantee or have had any changes to banking information, we ask that you submit a new electronic funds transfer form and then accompanying SWIFT vendor number and W-9. Again, if there are any questions related to the information we currently have on file or potential changes, feel free to reach out and we can send you links to the forms or the PDFs to complete. They'll also be included in the slides that you'll receive after the session and will be posted to our website. So now I'll hand it back over to G to go through some program-specific due diligence items.
It's always happening, mutual on mutual thing. I think you are familiar to our work plan and budget process. So, since you didn't receive the proposed the amount of funding, I think this is a kind of a time and a process to adjust your work plan and budget that reflect the awarded amount. So we will have some more, conversation around what part of your from your application should be staying, and how you want to prioritize, especially based on the amount that you are receiving from us. So I wish we have this conversation early possible. So if there is anything that we could work it out, I think that is always earlier is better. So if you have any question or some idea or some draft is done, please send those to me, and Elizabeth and I will have some review process and hopefully provide any clarification and some other support if you need it. So everything, like, again, the awarded funding amount, that's a kind of like something that you are gearing toward. And I do not believe you need to have some another, the information, what to do with the work plan. But I want to little bit address about the budget. The budget you submitted for application has been really simple, and then just the 3 category. But I think for this contract purpose, we need a little more the detailed information that you might be more familiar to through the previous contract process. So I apologize that it's not exactly the same like what you submitted during the application process, the same template or format, but hopefully you had some good idea about those little like your detailed line items that belong to each category. I think we are mostly, flexible, and some other things are, sure, this is a plan. So when things get different, we have done different kind of modification in the budget once a while. But you probably know that one thing that is less flexible is the travel amount. So you can probably decrease later, when we are approaching the end of the grant term, then you realize that probably then not that much travel happened, and still, like, even though we kind of declared the pandemic is done, many of our meetings and other things are still through virtual setting than in person. So I guess that we are still using our best guess, not necessarily the most accurate data or assumption. So with that, we can probably decrease, but not necessarily add more money to the travel. So hopefully you can put some little more thoughts, and then make sure that the travel budget is not that flexible as we wish, and you cannot add any other funding for later. Next slide, please. So, again, the reminder for work plan or task must be well aligned, and the more specific is better. But I think, that's a kind of level that you already shared through the application. So to me, at this time, the most important thing is that how you'd like to prioritize your work plan, since you didn't receive or requested the funding. So please let us know if you'd like to have some conversation and meet with us, or ask any question. The next. So I think it's the same kind of thing, and use the template that we sent it to you very soon. And I think if you'd like to make some changes from your original proposal, because I think the amount and then work plan we approved through your application is based on our review. So if you are making any change from that original plan because of this, again, while you are prioritizing, I think that's probably worth it for us to get connected and talk about it. And I believe I probably mentioned again about the budget and the work plan. The last thing I would like to share and emphasize again is that please submit any draft version. It doesn't have to be final. And I think probably that way Elizabeth and I can be more helpful for your process. Okay, I think Meredith, this is your slide.
Feel free to add in anything related to the next two. A designation letter from the COC or tribal planning entity is also required, along with an acknowledgement form. And the acknowledgement form should be completed by the COC or tribal planning entity chair, acknowledging the awareness of the award and approval of the work plan and budget submitted to Minnesota Housing. The acknowledgement form has a template that will be sent to you and can be signed digitally, electronically, or via wet signature and submitted as a PDF. The designation letter does not have a template, but we would need that to be submitted as well. G, did you have anything else you wanted to add related to those?
No, I don't. And I think, you know, sometimes it's a little bit confusing, or I don't think we have any, like a certain designation kind of a form, do we, Meredith? I just like we just have been accepting whatever the COC and tribal nations have.
Yes, that's correct. The acknowledgement form is a specific template, but the designation letter would be what you've already received.
Yeah, so if you have those, you know, form, and because we thought that that's a kind of the way that we can be flexible. But if you need some kind of example because you couldn't, you know, locate those what you used, or you'd like to have some change, I think we can provide some samples too.
Yeah, gee, I'm not remembering a designation letter. I remember the acknowledgement form, but I don't think the COC needs to have a letter designating the entity to apply on their behalf. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I think that there is probably, you know, there's some official, you know, way of the fiscal agent is the one that on behalf of the COC or tribal nations to receive this funding. So it's I know it's very similar to acknowledgement letter, but it's slightly different purpose. So I can probably see what you submitted from last year, and I can share with you to have some.
Great, because I couldn't find the designation. I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. So thank you.
Yep, we can do that. And Jennifer, I think you raised your hand.
Yeah, I put this question in the chat. You know, we have a signed COC governance charter that designates the collaborative applicant for planning. And, you know, being that entity, can you accept that as the designation, or you need a separate letter? Because it's going to say the same thing. And it's signed.
Yeah, I know it's probably certain things you might have already in bylaw, and I believe you had a similar kind of question during the RFP time too. I believe like we checked out and then we can accept, but let me double check because I think probably the certain like legal contract part is not my expert area. So let me double check and then get back to you. Thank you for checking. Okay, just want to make sure that I didn't miss any hands or questions. Okay.
So for submission and deadlines, please submit your items to the grants email, mhfa.grants@state.mn.us. You can include the naming convention of your grantee, your name as the grantee, and then the due diligence item that's being submitted. And as G mentioned, feel free to start submitting as soon as possible to allow enough time for the documents to be reviewed, especially the items that could require revision. You can submit all of your items at one time, or if you prefer to submit them separately as they're ready, you can do that as well, whatever works best for you as an organization. All the items must be received and approved before we can route the contract for signing. And reimbursement of expenses incurred before the contract's fully executed are not allowed. So we are asking that all items be submitted by 4:30 p.m. on Friday, June 23rd. But we're noting that this is our preferred date. And if you anticipate needing additional time, please feel free to reach out to let us know. We set this date just as our best attempt to get these contracts executed as early as possible and by July 30th, actually, since June 30th, since July 1st falls on a weekend. If you have any questions related to the due diligence items, you can direct them to the grants email. Any program specific questions to G, can reach out to both, of course, at any time, so we can get you the answers you need. And then, as I mentioned, since the contract term begins on a Saturday, it's our goal is to get all these agreements fully executed by June 30th. The effective date will still be July 1st, 2023, if it's signed by June 30th, so no expenses could be incurred prior, but that would allow the term to start without delay. So you may want to alert your authorized signer about the deadline so that we can move things along as quickly as possible. Again, if you anticipate needing additional time, reach out and let us know. And then any questions, please unmute or put them in the chat and we can answer them.
I can see the question mark and raise your, the raised hand from Jennifer, but I assume that might be from her previous questions, but just want to double check. Okay.
Right, sorry, I don't know which symbol means what here.
No,
So.
even I don't know how to do it by myself, so Jennifer, you're not alone.
Okay.
I'll just say, could you say a little bit more about that designation letter? Because now I'm confused too. There's a resolution and an acknowledgement form and a designation letter that all come from the COC.
Yes, the designation letter would be from the COC or the tribal planning entity. The acknowledgement form would be similar and is kind of more of a formal acceptance of the budget and work plan and acknowledgement of the award.
And then the resolution is about accepting the amount and designating the signer.
That's correct, yes.
So the designation letter basically just says, we're the COC and we designate Patty Beach Consulting to accept grants on our behalf or something like that?
Yeah, that would be what we would ask to be included in that. And I think if you have a document, as Jennifer referred to, already on file, you could send that in for us to review, and it may meet the requirements. So if you already have something, please feel free to submit.
Okay.
And otherwise,
so I think this must be new, right?
Yeah, this wasn't, well, I think it has been required in the past. I don't think it was required the last grant term. G, maybe you can speak a little more to the history of it.
And could you just put that in your resolution, or does it need to be a separate letter?
I think the reason we had to separate this because the resolution, if I'm not wrong, Meredith, please correct me. That comes from the fiscal entities board of directors, correct?
Yeah, from the grantee board of directors, yes.
Yeah, and then this designation letter are coming from the COC and or like at this time the travel planning entity, that is MTC. So there are two different entities. So we just want to make sure that the board of directors for that entity. So for example, if I pick just one here. Let's do Southeast. So that is the ICAs, the board of directors. They must be aware these funds come through that agency. So that's the kind of, what they're not supposed to acknowledge. And this designation letter is the Southeast COC should be aware that this funding got awarded, and with this money, that will be what would be the work plan and the spend, the usage planning. So yeah, that's why like we want to make sure that it was I think one of probably like a continuous suggestion from actually COC and MTC to have this a part of it rather than just that legal resolution letter. So we adapted
So
that.
if you're Patty Beach Consulting, which does not have a board of directors, who do we have sign the different documents then? Because our board, I mean, we work with the COC. We don't have a board of we are a for-profit entity as a consulting.
Yeah, I think you will be a little like, special, different kind of, route. So we can probably provide some more guideline about it, but this designation letter mostly signed by COC chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then resolution letter, I think that is not new, so I can probably dig some, our folder, how you submitted it in previous years. But
Because
maybe
in previous years, we've had the COC do the resolution.
Then I think, probably maybe we might need a, I mean, combining, I don't know, we can double check with our, the legal, but there's probably a possibility that with a slightly different language, maybe your chair has to sign both.
Yeah, all three, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe at times 3.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
I know it's very like
sorry.
No, Corey, go ahead.
I appreciate the flexibility of just letting us write our own designation letter, but I would really appreciate if you had a couple bullet points of what the minimum requirements of what needs to be in there, like you have for the resolution. I'd really appreciate that. That would help me write the letter. Just make sure I get it right the first time.
Okay, I think we can probably do that. At least to provide like this is something that you should include.
Yeah, just like the resolution, it lays it out exactly what needs to be in there for you guys to accept it. That would help me out a lot.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the suggestions. So we will send out to all of you, so you can incorporate or you can use what we used to have from your the COC or MTC. Kala, you have any questions? Seems like you have a question.
Looks like Carla was just agreeing that it would be helpful to have some more specific information. So thank you guys for that feedback. It's really helpful.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or suggestions? Just want to make sure that whether you are able to mute or unmute and whether that function is not, Okay, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, suddenly like I heard that you are muted, and then now you are unmuted. So I was like, make sure that I didn't touch anything. So just want to make sure that you have a chances to ask a question. It doesn't mean you cannot ask a question after this session. I mean, we are available, and especially when you receive all of those documents and then still certain language doesn't make sense, or what do you mean by, you know, kind of thing, feel free to contact us by email or phone. Hopefully we are available and address your question as soon as possible. Carla, I think you raised your hand.
Oh, yep, the unmute worked this time. I know the Clay County HRA is our fiscal agent, and they're having their board meeting on Tuesday. Any chance that the award letter will be available for that meeting? I mean, they have the email, but I'm sure the board might appreciate more information.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, you know, to be honest with you, before this meeting, we thought we can, you know, we could distribute, and that probably didn't work with a long weekend. So again, apologize about the delay, but I think we cannot probably, like, you know, the too much confident about that will be with you, you know, in a day or so. But I think that's kind of what we are aiming. If that is not happening, again, we will provide, you know, what is estimated timeline with you by end of tomorrow. But yes, Carla, we will work hard and push hard to send those the old materials to you again in a day or so. Any other questions or suggestion? Okay, so again, thank you so much for your time. And you know, when you receive those materials or while you are working on your work plan and the budget, if you have any question or your draft, like, you know, you just started and just want to make sure that this is the right direction or something, please don't hesitate to contact me or us. We would like to address your question as soon as possible to execute this contract, hopefully before or by July 1st. Thank you for your time again. And if you are interested in also about the review process and other some information while you are working on this due diligence and contract, you can let me know. I can set up something and we can probably have a little broader conversation about that process too. So just want you to know the other part of venue available. And I will look forward to hear from you and move forward to this contract.
Thank you all for joining us.
Okay, just want to make sure that we are missing any questions or some comments that you'd like to share. So seems like not. So then we can probably close this meeting and return those 20 minutes to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.